I'm a historian, and people don't care very much about history, unfortunately.
What's history? The worst thing you can say about somebody really is he's history.
Almost all the police officers were history majors.
History was actually the most popular major after criminal justice.
Understanding how this world came to be, understanding that the past is in fact not dead, but it runs into and through the present and into the future. To the degree you understand that, you empower yourself.
It's important to have a sense of why today we are as fierce advocates for justice as we were almost 50 years ago. John Jay was very much a product of the 60s. It was a time of questioning of virtually every aspect of American society.
There was a lot of tension around policing. I mean, the Vietnam War was underway, civil rights initiatives were underway, and the police officer was right in the middle of it.
I said to myself, or it dawned on me, this is an amazing experience. This is really historic. The police, who had been kept separate in the training academies, being brought into the university.
When the college began in 1965, it only had 1,000 students. Those students could only choose one major, and that was police science.
We had about 40 faculty members, a very biblical number. And many of them were what we call practitioners, people who had had careers in the police department, the fire department.
I became a part of John Jay by helping to create John Jay. I'm one of those who's I was going to say founding fathers, but that would be politically incorrect. And the first name for the college, I know you'll laugh, was COPS, College of Police Science. And then we thought to give it the dignity that it deserved, it became the John Jay College of Criminal Justice.
The people who were at the core of the college at that time were Leonard Reisman, who was the president, and he died rather early in that period. And the provost at the time was Don Riddle, and he became the president. John Cammett became dean of faculty, and I think it was Dick Ward who became dean of students.
My main memory of that first semester is the fact that at the time the entire faculty of the college was in one room in the police academy, 3 or 4 to a desk. We had a drawer and a key, and that was the extent of our office.
What was the right curriculum for the college? What was the mission that this college should have?
The mission was really articulated wonderfully by Don Riddle, the president. He said, how shall we educate the police office, law enforcement people, like everyone else?
One of the arguments that was made in the beginning for the creation of John Jay College was to humanize the police department, to expand its awareness of the larger world. And I mean, I have to say, I found that just a little overdone. The cops were a lot shrewder about the way the world worked often than some of my colleagues were.
I had tried to get into a lot of other colleges when I came out of the United States Navy, but I had an equivalency diploma at the time, and no other college would take me.
Here I am, this sort of scraggly-haired 17-year-old, fresh out of high school, and sitting in the same classroom with me would be a bunch of guys with, who were bigger, older, some cases balder, some cases fatter, and almost to a man with a gun on the hip.
You could be talking and fascinated by this gun. I just thought we should talk about it. To obviously, as a psychologist, what else would I suggest?
I mean, I would always say, after I said something very controversial, which was general, I would say, in my opinion, I would say it 3 times.
I was more worried about the professor and what kind of a grade I would get and whether I would meet the professor's expectation than I was about everybody around me has a gun. Everybody around me had a gun since I was 17 years old and went in the Navy.
I think they were more startled by the fact that their professor was wearing sandals than anything else. The sartorial politics were more disturbing.
College to me was something that was remarkable. I didn't believe I was there.
So I saw one of the students and he waved and I said, "Hi, Mr. Gray." That was his name. "Hi, Mr. Gray." And he shouted out, "Hi, Karen." And Don Riddle said, "Only at John Jay, the faculty members are younger than their students, and the students would feel comfortable enough calling their teachers by first name, but the teachers are calling them Mr. and Ms."
The discussion would be about, what do you think about the student protest at was it Columbia or NYU? And I'd be, spouting off about, having been there, and a cop on the other side of the room would be saying, "Yeah, I was there, and did I bust your head open?"
Somebody in a car had said to me, "Thank you, officer, for protecting us from them." I said, "Not protecting you from them." So the police in these situations are in a very interesting predicament. One, protect our rights and protect us from this abuse, and then on the other side, make sure that you maintain order. Let's not have chaos here.
The semester when Kent State happened, I was finishing my first semester teaching.
Colleges were closing all over the country in protest against the Vietnam War. Howard Umansky and I, at a faculty meeting, argued that John Jay should close. The faculty determined that the students should decide.
I was very much opposed to that. I don't want to see a college closed.
I remember a student saying to me, a police officer, the reason the police officers so hated the students at Columbia during the strike was that they were throwing away an education we could never hope to get, and now we're getting it at John Jay.
And the vote was held. As I recall, there was a lot of lobbying going on both sides, very appropriately. Finally, the students voted 52% to 48% not to close. But I think it was an event that helped the college be seen as a regular college.
And then we had a chancellor, an assistant chancellor, whose name was Julius C.C. Edelstein. And he's the chancellor who gave us open enrollment. Until open enrollment, less than 3% of high school graduates were admitted into any of the city university colleges. He had a motto, and I think it's a perfect motto for all of us. It's better for everybody when it's better for everybody.
I owe my job to open admissions.
But then suddenly arrives, blacks and Puerto Ricans and Irish, Italian, working class kids who are civilians, as they said.
It was the cops and the kids, and there were those who felt it was inevitable that it would be a conflict between the cops and the kids. It was, but it was exciting, and we weren't afraid of it.
The conversations and the interactions in the classrooms that this produced were just perfectly astonishing.
One day I did lose control of the class over the war in Vietnam. The students started throwing chairs at each other, and they broke some windows. And after that, for a long time, I didn't have a room with windows.
With the greater number of students, the number of majors in the college just about doubled. It created a tremendous crisis for the faculty. Were we just like any other liberal arts college, or were we a college that really had a focus on criminal justice?
My sense of Don Riddle, and certainly Jerry Lynch, is that they supported the liberal arts.
As we went on, and many decided we'd have other majors, the ones who were early coming into it, I think, felt that it was going to leave the mission.
We really had very limited resources, and it was important for the college, and I think it remains important that we have a special mission together with liberal arts majors.
As the crisis deepened in 75 into 76, the media, the banks, the city began to look for scapegoats.
They put free tuition at the City University of New York at the top of the list of things that were outrageous sins that New York City had committed, were quasi-socialist initiatives. Well, if New York City can do this, why can't Minneapolis? Well, good question. Why not Minneapolis instead of, say, the Vietnam War?
And then one morning at 7 o'clock, I was about to go into the shower. I opened the New York Times, and it said 5 colleges will be closed.
They wanted to cut, that is, eliminate John Jay College of Criminal Justice completely.
First of all, we were young, that we were targeted.
We were the new kid on the block, so to speak.
Second of all, that we were dispersed, this dispersed student body.
The attitude was that John Jay didn't have a constituency.
And third, I think the Board of Trustees didn't think anyone would care about cops, quite frankly.
When I got out of the shower, I remember talking to my wife, and she said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I don't know yet." She said, "Don't do anything too crazy."
Suddenly, every effort had to be aligned to the one purpose of saving our college.
You do what you can. If it means there's a rally going on, you show up at the rally. If it means that there's an envelope to be stuffed with a letter, you stuff an envelope.
We did publicity that said "Save John Jay," and it got all over the city and all over taxis, and we were on commercials. My wife was in the playground with my son. She said, Mommy, what's that?" And my wife said, "I think it's a plane that writes in the sky." And somebody said, "It says Save John Jay." My wife said, "Oh no, he didn't do that."
I mean, it was a totally spontaneous thing. We're rallying outside the, what was then the main building of 56th Street, and then all of a sudden it's like, we're going to the central office. Sure. And
We marched through the streets, and several of the police said to us, "The police are going to stop us. The police are going to get us."
When the marches took place, I was actually in a hospital bed in Lenox Hill Hospital, and the march of the John Jay protesters passed Lenox Hill Hospital, and I heard them from my hospital bed marching on to 80th Street.
There were cops on duty that this was an unauthorized march, a spontaneous march to the board, and they stopped traffic and facilitated.
We would, applaud them, and they would applaud us.
It was quite, exciting.
We went to the, where the Board of Trustees were meeting to make our feelings known. They're sitting at 86th Street. They don't know what's going on.
The chancellor said, "Jerry, stop them." And I said, "I can't, because you should hear from them."
red light, green light, didn't matter. Cars would stop, we'd walk through.
They were defying the rules of their job and risking their jobs to allow this march to go on because the college was so important to them.
The New York Times came out for us. So did the governor.
When Chancellor Kibbe got into a cab and the cab driver said to him, "Are you one of those people who are going to end the education of cops?" that the chancellor realized that he had lost the fight to close the college.
And we ultimately saved the college.
That was a tough fight. I'm proud of the people who were still here and who made that fight, and particularly Jerry Lynch.
Putting this in a larger citywide and national context saved our bacon, but of course not all of our bacon.
We had to focus our very limited resources on the criminal justice and related majors.
But we continued to teach our courses, and history and literature was always required. Now you can major in it again. And these liberal arts majors are popular.
Ask the alumni what they think. So many thousands of alumni who think this was a good deal, and a very good deal.
It's very difficult to imagine the comparison between several classrooms on the 6th floor in the police academy and a college that has, 18,000 students. I'm not even sure. It's just a vast college. But I'm very proud, even prouder now, to say that I came from John Jay because of what it's become. It was very good to me back then, and now it's a terrific model for the country, I think.